Praise the Lord, my beautiful blessed souls. Back with another word. We are in Numbers chapter 34. And yes, I'm excited because we're getting closer to finishing this, but this is really good. Okay, let's get into it. Numbers chapter 34. We're bruised and not broken. Here we are. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Command the people of Israel and say to them, when you enter the land of Canaan, this is the land that shall fall to you for an inheritance." The land of Canaan is defined by its borders. So remember, God promised them this land. He's specifying this is the inheritance from who? The lineage. From their fathers. Now remember, this is a long lineage from Abraham, Isaac to Jacob. And even this is after Joseph's time. So when we think about this, this is a beautiful symphony of how the fathers, the men in the household, the priest of the house, their children are blessed all of these generations down the line because of their obedience, their relationship with God, their covenants, their obedience, and their sacrifice, their relationship, the altars, the covenants, the contracts, the vows, the oaths that they took with God, the intimacy, the relationship. So because of that, and with their families. So this is what this is about. And when we look at families, we got to look at it from that standpoint, because God does this so that your family can, progress. And when we look at our families now, the men are not in the homes. They're not putting blessings upon their children. They're reaping curses, all these type of things. And we have to understand that this has a lot to do with it, because God created the family. We call it the nuclear, but whatever that is, He created it, and He's the author of it. So when we're looking into it and how it should be ran, we should look to Him. So it says, your south side shall be from the wilderness of Zin. He's describing, or he's going to let them, he's breaking down the borders specifically by the father and the father's names. This is where the tribes come from. So this is how they're going to get their inheritance. It's not through the mother, it's through the father. So your south side, remember the south, shall be from the wilderness of Zin alongside Edom. So, and alongside your southern border shall run from the end of the Salt Sea, to the east, on the east. So when we look this up, because we have to look these up, because they're fighting over this stuff now over there, and we would have to look it up. But those are not the original people. They know that they're fighting, and they know that this was not for them. This is the land that God gave to His people, and we already know that those are not the people that are over there. And the true people, we will find them out in Deuteronomy when we get into it. But yes, it has a lot to do with Black Americans, because those are the real true ones. Why? Because those are the ones that we will see who were scattered among the earth. They were enslaved for 400 years twice. They were never bought by anyone, and they would not know who they are, where they came from. That does not describe the Jewish people that are over there. That describes Black American people. We are the only people that have no land of our own to go back to. But that's because they changed the calendars, they changed all of these things, and this is why, so that we would not know, along with the maps. So now it says, and your border shall turn south of the accent of Akrabim, and the cross to Zin, and its limit shall be south of Kadesh Barnea. Now, when he's talking about these things, if we had the old maps, we would know exactly where the line is. And all of this, what they're doing, would not be worth it. But because they're lying and they're all fighting over what does not rightfully belong to them anyway, this is what we're getting. So then it shall go on to Hazar Adar and pass along Asmon. And the border shall turn from Asmon to the brook of Egypt, and its limit shall be at the sea. So if we had a map of then, we would know exactly, because the borders is specifically outlined, north, south, east, and west. And he's gonna, this is God. For the western border, you shall have the great sea and its coast. This shall be your western border. Now remember, who can tell anyone about land but God? Why? If He gave it to the people, He gave it to the people. He's the one who created everything on earth, everything, the land, everything. Now these people come along and tell us what they want to tell us, who belongs here, who don't, when they originally don't belong there themselves, when they're the ones who just go around conquering and taking and snatching up what does not rightfully belong to them. So how can we sit here and be like, oh, well, this one is right because no, they are not, because none of them are originally from most of these places that they have taken captive of. And when it comes down to it, God is the only one who owns everything, the land, the sea, everything. So no one can tell us but God. And if we had the rightful information, which they don't want us to know because they've been lying to benefit themselves all this time, this is the reason why we're having all of these issues. Because you got some people who are not really people, they're synagogue of Satan, the children of Satan, and they want to do this because it is a direct hit, because it's not a land thing, it's a spiritual thing. It's the significance of it. It's what God gave to his people that they are fighting over, which they are not. And so when you look at it from that point of view, it has much more significance than what we see, because it's not a natural battle. This is a battle that's spiritual, but it's happening in the natural, but it's because it happened in the spiritual first. Now, remember, Jesus has already went to the cross, so we already know this is only going to set the stage for prophecy to be fulfilled. That means everything that God has already spoke about all of these situations and about his people and about giving them their land and he's going to right the wrongs. Jesus is coming back to right the wrongs of who? His people. This is the part we keep neglecting. His people. Who is his people? Who was his original people and who became his people afterwards? And when I talk about just bloodline and lineage, we're talking about the ones who actually love and follow him. So that's going to mean a lot. Pay attention. So now it says, you shall draw a line for your eastern border from Hazar Enan to Shephan. Wait. I think I skipped something. Okay, this shall be your northern border. From the great sea you shall draw a line to Mount Hor. Now remember, we did the other. Then from Mount Hor you shall draw a line to Lebo Hamath, and the limit of the border shall be Zadad. Then the border shall extend to Ziphron, and its limit shall be at Hazar Enim, and this shall be your northern border. So now he already did the south, right? He did the south. Then he did the west. He blocked it off, the west, the south. And then now he's talking about the north. Now you shall draw a line for your eastern border. Now he's in the east border from Hazar Enim to Shephem. And the border shall go down from Shephem to Riblah on the east side of Ain, and the border shall go down and reach to the shoulder of the Sea of Chinnereth on the east. And the border shall go down to the Jordan, and its limit shall be at the Salt Sea. This shall be your land as defined by its borders all around. Now remember, because this is God speaking, no one can contradict it. And if the maps from back in that time were correct, we would see exactly, but like I said, where the land begins and where it ends that rightfully belong to the children of God. So Moses commanded the people of Israel, saying, this is the land that you shall inherit by lot. He's giving them specific regions based off of their fathers' names. Remember, the 12 tribes, the 12 sons of who? Of Jacob. So now we see, which the Lord has commanded to give the 9 tribes to the half tribe, and to the half tribe. For the tribe, okay, Moses commanded the people of Israel, saying, this is the land that you shall inherit by lot, which the Lord has commanded to give to the 9 tribes and to the half tribe. For the tribe of the people of Reuben by the fathers' houses, and the tribe of the people of Gad by their fathers' houses have received their inheritance. Remember, they asked specifically. That's why I went from 12 to this. So, and also half tribe of Manasseh. So that's the 2.5 tribes. So the 2 tribes and a half tribe have received their inheritance already when they were beyond the Jordan. Remember, that was what they requested. And that was not, remember, we spoke about that in the last one, because people want to be close to you enough to receive the blessings, but they don't want to be necessarily there. And you have to be careful of these people, because this is what happens. And they bring division instead of unity. and their motive is to get and not to help and not to pour in. But we're going to see how that's going to go. So the 2 tribes and a half and the tribe and a half received their inheritance beyond the Jordan, east of Jericho towards the sunrise. They did that in the beginning before they even went to the land. Remember, it was not what God wanted. He didn't originally plan that, but because, remember, he allows us free will. So when they asked for it, he gave it. So the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, these are the names of the men who shall divide the land to you for inheritance. So God appointed Eleazar the priest, Joshua the son of Nun. You shall take 1 chief from every tribe to divide the land for inheritance. But see, God appoints certain people because he knows their hearts. And a lot of people don't like certain things a certain way. But see, God knows these people, and he knows that they're willing to do what he wants them to do and do it fairly, exactly the way he said it. This is just like when you are, doing your inheritance and you're sitting here thinking about your children and who you want to leave something to, and you see how they act and how they treat you and where their hearts are towards you. It makes you not want to deal with them. It makes you not want to give them anything. So whenever you're thinking about people being promoted, are these people trustworthy? Whenever you want what they have, are you the type of person, because God picks them for a reason? It's not that he picked them without already knowing them in their hearts and what they would do. So if you weren't picked, there's a reason for that. Your motives, you yourself is your own blockage. This is why you are not the one. And everything about you in your life and what you do and don't do is the reason why you were not picked for that certain thing. Now, it's not to say that you may not do something else and that may be better for you, because God will have something else, or whatever it is for you, then that's where you need to be. And this is what this is about. So the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, these are the names of the men who shall divide the land to you for your inheritance, Eleazar the priest and Joshua the son of Nun. Now you shall take 1 chief from every tribe to divide the land for inheritance. These are the names of the men of the tribe of Judah: Caleb the son of Jephunneh. And of the tribe of the people of Simeon, Shemuel the son of Ammihud. And of the tribe of Benjamin, Elidad the son of Chislon. And of the tribe of the people of Dan, a chief, Buki the son of Jogli. And of the people of Joseph, of the tribe of the people of Manasseh, a chief, Haniel the son of Ephod. And of the tribe of the people of Ephraim, a chief, Kemuel the son of Shiftan. And of the tribe of the people of Zebulun, a chief, Elizaphan the son of Parnach. And of the tribe of the people of Issachar, a chief, Peltiel the son of Azrin. And the tribe of the people of Asher, a chief, Ehud the son of Shalomi. And of the tribe of the people of Naphtali, a chief, Pedahel the son of Ammihud. These are the men whom the Lord commanded to divide inheritance for the people of Israel in the land of Canaan. Now remember, even with Joseph's children, if we paid attention to, during that time when when Jacob and Joseph was having the conversation about Manasseh and what is the other son name? Ephraim, right? Remember, those are the children that Joseph had when he got to Egypt. Remember, he was already married to the Pharaoh's daughter. So, was it the daughter or sister? I forget. But anyway, so I think Manasseh is the oldest child. But when it came for God to pick and choose, and for Jacob it was not Manasseh. So whatever's in Manasseh is just like Jacob and Esau. Although he should have rightfully gotten the firstborn blessing, God didn't see it to be so it went to the second. And see, we talk about men and women, and we talk about preaching and teaching, we talk about all these things, but God will pour his spirit out even on babes. He will allow whomever he chooses to use as vessels. This is why we have to be so careful, because we don't know who God's going to pick and choose to do things. Only God does. And by our standards, we would say no. But by God's standards, he's saying yes, because he knows the hearts and he knows the people better than anyone else. So this is another thing. Even with Reuben and Joseph. Reuben is the oldest, but Jacob still chose Joseph over Reuben. Why? Because there was a lot of factors with that. And the way that Reuben treated his father when he slept with his father's concubine, that let us know a lot about his character and why he was not chosen. Why? Because he was not loyal, he was not faithful, he was not honorable, he was not respectful. So why would you want to put blessings upon someone you already see cannot handle, you see what I'm saying, or will not be loyal to you? Will not, do what have a relationship that is one of respect, that is one of honor, that is one of these things, but you expect them to you know what I'm saying, to be a blessing to you. See, we got to stop this with these relationship situations. And I don't care if it's, the children, if it's the husband, the wife, the whatever it is, because how a person feels about you says a lot, okay, about you and them in the relationship. Now, we all supposed to forgive. We supposed to, yes, we are. We're not supposed to treat each other mean, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the way we dealing with things have to be the same way. Because once people show you who they are, please, God didn't allow you to see it for you to be blind for it. It was a reason he allowed you to see it. So when we look at these things, we have to be careful and be mindful, because even when they went into the new Canaan, right before they was crossing, he told them to kill the people, because if not, they would be thorns and thistles. They would be, hindrances to their life. Why? Because if you do not, these same enemies will come back, because once people show you who they are, means that they can do, that's in them. They can do that and will do that to you again. May not be the same situation and circumstances, but they can and they will, if unchecked, if allowed to be there and do it. And this is why a lot of times God removes people, because he knows their hearts towards you. And see, they will get mad once they see you moving on with your life. But the bottom line is, all intentions that you have towards this person is not good. So why would you be angry and upset? You didn't want them in the first place. What you want is for them to allow you to use and abuse, and that's not what God is in. That's why he removes and takes. Why? Because he's not going to allow you to use and abuse. He's not. He's going to put a stop to that. And a lot of people don't like that. So and he puts things rightfully, justly in order. And when we look at these things, and even when we look at Manasseh and him being closer to Reuben, and him, dealing with Reuben and Gad a little bit better than he should be, we can see that that's why they are together, because they roll together, because they have the same heart posture, the same, they operate kind of alike. And this is why they're together. And they don't want to be with everyone else, because everyone else is doing what God wants them to do, and they are the rebels, and they are the ones that were, looking out for themselves, don't care about nobody else. It's all about them. They're not willing to work together. They're not willing to build and grow. No, it's all about them. As you can see, opportunist people who just come a part of your life just to get or be closest to you, to get something from you, to use you and move forward. It's not about you, them loving you, wanting to be with you really and truthfully. No, that's not what it's about. It's just they want what you have and what you have to offer, what you have to bring. That's usership, that's manipulation, that's witchcraft, that's sorcery, that's the monitoring spirits, the familiar spirits, the household spirits, the enemies that will be among your own household. This is what God is talking about. It was already in Cain and Abel. We see it in Esau and Jacob. We see this over and over again. And this is why this is a problem. And it eats at the family. It eats at the family as a whole. But we're going to get into it. Okay. So now in this chapter, God directs Moses, and he is also to direct Israel, meaning concerning the bounds and borders of the land of Canaan, concerning the division and distribution of it to the tribes of Israel. Now, he promised them he was going to take them, get them. Remember, there was a process for this whole situation, and we have to go through the process. Why? Because the process is very important, because if you get what you want before the process is over, you may destroy it. God already knows this. You may not be able to handle it. Just like if you want to get married and God is telling you to wait and you're by yourself, you might want to wait, because you might want God to process you first and then process whoever it is that he's going to have for you. And you might not want to go out there and pick someone, because going to pick someone where you pick the wrong person and then you make a disruption to your life. Remember, being unequally yoked, meaning yoking with people just like them, that he told them not to sleep with, not to have children with, why? Because their demons become your demons. Their idolatry and worship becomes yours, and it intermingles and it creates an issue. Why? Because although you're not saved, the other person, or you're saved and you want to be with an unsaved person, no, that's not good, because you don't know what comes with them in that unsavedness. Their bloodline and history needs to be clean just like yours. When you guys get together, let God work on them, you work on you. This is why, wanting to be with someone and jump into relationships and all of this because you're lonely, no, that's not good. That feeling is for just that time frame. You don't need to do. I see people talking about these kingdom spouses and all this. Everyone wants to hurry up and be married. In heaven, there is no marriage. Please understand that. So that is a down here thing. And most of these things that are down here, the enemy uses. He uses them because they're things that we desire and want. So that becomes the main focus of the warfare in your life, is the things that you love. Your family, your friends, your money, your right. Wherever your heart is, your treasure, your treasures are. This is what this is about. Wherever your treasures are, your heart is. This is what that is about. Why? Because he uses that to hurt you, to distract you, to be mad with God. When these things are temporary, we're not going to be here forever, and these things are not going to be with us forever. So for us to sit here and want to, make permanent decisions based on temporary situations. Remember, we're not going to be here forever. We're going to spend more time, in heaven with the Lord than we will ever spend down here. We think that because we're here and we're down here is so important, but that's not going to be. No, you better worry about where you're spending your eternity, because all of this is going to pass away. Remember, there will be no husbands and wives. We will not have the children thing. All of that is not going to. No, we're going to be all siblings. We're not going to be having sex. We're not going to be doing any of those things. That's a flesh thing. You see what I'm saying? That's a flesh thing. So when you get to the point where you're like, okay, like I said, I done been there, done that with the husband, with this. So my life is not about those things anymore. My life is about serving God, because I spent most of my life doing those things. And if that's what he wants for me, for right here, but those are ministries, and it comes with work, and it comes with, doing more as far as, getting away from what God wants you to do, because it's easier to serve God when you're by yourself. It's harder to serve God when you have a husband and children and all these other things going on. Please, to whom much is given, much is required. You want ministry, you want a husband, you want children, you want all of these things, but you have to be able to manage them. And I remember Miles Monroe talking about manage. God will give you what you can manage. So if you're not able to manage you right now, you don't know what love is, God needs to show you. Wait. When it comes to anything you're doing, allow God to do the process in you first. Because once you're finished with the process and he says, okay, he gives you the green light, that is the best thing for your life, because then you are ready to get it, receive it, maintain it, and steward it the way it's supposed to be. That brings blessings in your life. It expands your territory, not curses. And this is what we want. We don't want to get more on our plate that we cannot handle, if we already can't even handle what we already have on it. So this is what people like to bite off more than they can chew. They like to see someone else over there. I don't want to rush anything. I want to stay where I am until God tells me to move. This is where the shepherding coming in. He moving when him telling you to move, and him telling you to stop, all of that, him clearing the paths. This is what, before you get there, this is what this is about. This is so important, because when we move out of alignment, move before God, move after him instead of with him, this is we find ourselves in situations doing things he didn't tell us to do. And so this is why this is so important. And so I tell people, it's not that I'm not for marriage. I think people make a lot of idols out of things, including marriage, including a husband, including, the house, the cars, and the children, and all these things. Don't make idols of these things. Don't make idols, because it's so easy. Your career, your education, it's so easy to make idols. Your prettiness, or your beauty, your fame, your power. Don't make idols of these things. And when you do, just know that you're headed down destruction, whether it's sex, whether it's whatever it is, don't make idols of these things. Good morning. So let's get back to it. I don't care what it is. Don't make an idol of it. I don't care what it is. So now we're going to get into it. Okay, so now in this chapter, God gives Moses specific instructions about the boundaries. Boundaries are very important. You know, he led them out. He told them he was going to deliver them. They went through all of this. A lot has happened. They journeyed their, you know, he had them write the journey down in the last chapter. Why? So that you would understand exactly where they were, from where they got to, and where he's about to take them to. Instructions, you know, regulations, boundaries, all of these things are so important. Structure. Because one thing about God, even when he made Adam and Eve, before he put them in the garden, everything was already there that they would need for the sustenance. He's always been a provider and a protector. So we can't say that, no, before they were put in the garden, everything was created that they would ever need already. And this is what we don't see. We need to look at these things and how God operates. We need to pay attention to what he does. So he's not going to let you not be cared for, provided and provision wise. He's not. He doesn't do that. And whatever he says he's going to do, he's going to do it. That may not be the way we want or in our time frame, but he's going to do it. So now he already told them, he got them to all of that. He had to take them to all of that because they needed it. And now that before he's given the instruction, here we go again. This is the blueprint, laying it out. And whenever you're trying to do stuff and whenever you're moving forward, you need all of these things. This is the process, and you need to follow this process because it's very important for you to be successful in your life. In this chapter, God gives Moses specific instructions about the boundaries of the land of Canaan. Boundaries are borders. They are like fences to keep you in and protect you from outsiders and them from you. This is important. Rules and regulations, which a lot of people don't like, which the Israelites will receive as an inheritance after entering the promised land. So main points, the boundaries of the promised land. God describes the geographical borders of Canaan, why this is a specific land he gave to them. And it has everything is specified. Nothing is half done. God is a God of order and not confusion. Please understand it. And God describes the geographical borders of Canaan. The southern border is from the Dead Sea to the desert of Zin and along the border of Edom. Why? Remember who the Edomites were. Remember who Edom is. They hate them. That's Jacob's brother. Remember, his twin that he stole the birthright from. Western border, the coastline, well, actually God gave it to him. Western border, the coastline of the Mediterranean Sea. So that's south, that's west. The northern border was from the Mediterranean Sea across to Mount Hor and areas in the far north. The eastern border goes down from the Sea of Galilee along the Jordan River to the Dead Sea. Now remember, these borders is so important. Why? Because alignment, being where God tells you to be, is a hedge of protection. And this is why them being outside is a problem. Because when something happens, they are where? Over there. These boundaries outline the land that 9.5 tribes west of the Jordan will inherit. The leaders appointed for division of the land, remember, is by their fathers and how much the quantity of the peoples are. So the ones who have the larger land map, larger people, they get the larger portions of the land. God tells Moses to appoint leaders from each tribe who will help divide the land. Now remember, certain ones had certain things because of the way that they interacted with their father. Remember, he blessed them, and the things he gave them was in response to the way that they related to him, his relationship with them. God tells Moses to appoint the leaders from each tribe who will help divide the land. Eleazar the priest and Joshua will oversee the whole process. A list of tribal leaders, one from each tribe, is given to assist in the distribution of the territory. Why? Because everything has to be concise. God has already written it out. It's supposed to be specified. And this is where there's no confusion. There's no quarreling about who's supposed to get what and how it's supposed to go and where you're supposed to be. And if you want, we could give a simple, no, kid friendly. No. Okay. So, Numbers chapter 4, it says, gives the Israelites the official boundaries of the promised land Canaan that they will inherit after crossing the Jordan River. God describes the southwest, north, southeast borders, outlining exactly how large the land will be. God tells Moses to appoint Eleazar and Joshua the priest, one from each tribe, to help divide the land among the people. Now, remember, they had to go in and fight to take it. Remember, you have to be a part of your own deliverance. You cannot just sit there and think, God is going to do what you cannot do. But you have to put in the fight. Just like the battle's already won. Christ has already gone. But we still have to fight here on earth. Why? Because we have to be a part of our own deliverance. Here's a simple version. Okay, God told Moses what the new land would look like when the Israelites moved to Canaan. He described the edges like drawing out an outline on a big map. The land would stretch from the desert at the bottom to the mountains on the north, from the Jordan River on one side to the Big Sea on the other. And then God told Moses and Joshua, Eleazar, the leaders from each tribe will help divide up the land so that everyone would get their piece. It was like God giving them a big puzzle and choosing helpers to make sure each family got the right spot. Exactly. Now we're going to explain. Okay, now when God explains this to them, 3 to 5, the southern border, the southern boundaries, at the southern tip of that, right? Okay, let me go down. Okay, map style visual description. Here's what the boundaries look like if we're looking at a map. South, the bottom of the Dead Sea, the desert is in the border of Edom, and it ends at the Mediterranean Sea. West, entire western edge is the Mediterranean Sea. So they had all of that. The north was from the Mediterranean eastward through the high northern mountains, Mount Hor region, toward Lebo Hamath area. The east starts at the Sea of Galilee, follows the Jordan River south, ends at the Dead Sea. It forms a tall rectangle-like shape with the Jordan River running down the eastern edge. Okay, we're going to get into the spiritual meaning of this, the symbolisms, so we can look at it deeper. Numbers is the surface of the border's geography, but spiritually it represents identity, inheritance, boundaries, leadership, and divine order. We're going to break it down. God sets the boundaries of our lives. This is what is so important. God defines our territories, our destinies, and calling. Remember, before he put Adam and Eve in the garden, he already completed everything for them. So we don't get less than God has assigned, and this is what we do not understand when it comes to each individual person. And this is why, witchcraft, sorcery, swapping out stuff is so wrong. Destiny swaps, stars being stolen, all of these things that people think is nothing. No, because you need to be certain places doing certain things, certain times, and it takes that person to do those things. No one else can do them but them the way that they're going to do them. And this is why this is so, this is why we're not supposed to be jealous, envious, covetous. We're not supposed to be any of these things. And this is why what's for you is for you. God assigned it to you, and that's why your assignment, your purpose is only for you. And we don't have to fight for what's already ours. And it's sad because, people want to fight you for what is yours, what's rightfully yours. And it's sad because you have your own assignment. You have your own purpose. What are you fighting other people for? Because whatever you're fighting them for, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing because you're over here trying to take away someone else or something. So you're not required to carry what is outside of your assignment. And this is what this is about. Clarity brings peace. This is the spiritual lesson. Boundaries bring protection, right? To keep you from stuff. Purpose brings direction. So we got clarity that brings peace. We got boundaries that bring protection. And we got purpose that brings direction. So that's what the borders and stuff is about. Now, whenever you are, moving or doing anything, you have to have all of these things. 2, boundaries represents identity. The land wasn't random. It was tied to the identity of God's people. And this is why it's so important. Spiritually, this means God shapes who you are by shaping what is yours. The land, all of these things have very symbolic meaning. Your purpose, your gifts, your influence, and responsibilities. So a land that God purposely chose for them to be there and abide. Whatever his reason, whether the crops, whether it was a spiritual heartbeat, whatever it was, this is where he wanted them, and this is where he put them. And for everyone else to be fighting over it, something that they weren't given, it's not even this. And this is why, this world is so warped. And Satan, Lucifer, the devil, he's real. And he allows things because he puts the envy, the jealousy, the covetousness. He puts it there, but only to see because you already have it in you to see if you're going to go get it, if you're going to do it. Now, spiritual lesson, knowing your God-given identity keeps you from comparing yourself to others. This is that envy, the jealousy, the covetousness. This is what this is about. knowing God has something for you. And don't worry about other people. God prepares blessings before you arrive. Israel hadn't crossed the Jordan yet, but God had already had these things. He had the map drawn out, the assigned land, the appointed leaders, appointed time. He already knew that this was going to be. He told them this from before, way before they even thought about being, when they were in bondage. He had already told them. Now, the spiritual truth is our future is not uncertain to God. It may be uncertain to us, but it's not to Him. Our provision is not last minute. It may be to us, but it's not to Him. And our destiny is already prepared. See, we think we know more with no. God has already have it mapped out. He already has it assigned. He already has appointed leaders, appointed time. We just have to let God be God, and we do what we need to do on our end. The western border, the sea symbol of the Holy Spirit. The western border equals the sea symbol of the Holy Spirit. When in Scripture, it often symbolizes the Holy Spirit, meaning water. The west side, being completely bordered by the sea, can represent the spirit limits where you go. The Spirit protects one side of your life, and you're surrounded by God's presence on the journey. That makes a lot of sense. So the Spirit limits where you go. You're not just going to go any and everywhere. It also protects one side of your life, meaning that, and then you're surrounded by God's presence throughout the journey. The spiritual lesson is one side of your life is completely covered by God's presence, even when you can't see it. And this is the beautiful part of that, because even when we were yet sinners, He has a plan. He always had a plan, but we need to check with Him. We think we're supposed to have Him check with us. No. The Jordan River, it equals transition. The eastern border follows the Jordan River, which spiritually symbolizes crossing from the old into the new. And this is why they went through all of the battles and all of the, folks dying and all the lessons, to know what to do when you got there. These are things that you already saw. The people who turned on you, the people, all of these things, that went on. These are your lessons. So you take them so that when you move into this new, these thoughts, habits, patterns, and cycles will be broken. You do not want to do the same things again. Letting go of Egypt, meaning the old life, you have to let it go. It has to die in order for the new to rise. And that's going to happen over time. There's going to always be a time where you're going to have to die to certain things. There's always going to be winter, spring, summer, fall. There's always seasons in your life. And depending on what season is going to depend on what type of process you're going to have to go through for that season to prepare you. So from the old to the new, you got to let it go of the old to get the new. And you got to take whatever lessons is valuable. Cut people off that need to be cut off. The ones who need to go with you. All of this is all about preparation. Knowing who's who and what's what. Stepping into promise with maturity and with faith. Why? Because you want to handle this situation, this new life. You don't want to mismanage it. You don't want to go back. You don't want to be stagnated. You want to be there, but you want to be fruitful, meaning planning for the future. Be fruitful and multiply always. Spiritual truth. Every believer must cross the Jordan. This is a moment of surrender and transition before entering into the promised land. Remember, whatever God has prepared for you, you have to be also ready. You cannot reject it. You cannot be lacking and slacking. You have to be ready and prepared to handle whatever it is He has for you. God appoints the leadership 6 is necessary for inheritance. God appoints Joshua, meaning representing courage and obedience. That's why he was appointed. Leadership is necessary. Borders, all of these things, clarity, all of these. Eleazar the priest representing spiritual insight, because you have to have the spiritual. Even the wicked ones, they have to have some spirituality. Why? Because if not, stuff is not going to work. Tribal leaders representing unity and order. So this is going to go from Joshua to the priest to them. This is how this is. That's courage and obedience, spiritual insight, and unity and order, right? Because you have to work together. No one can carry the load by themselves, and this is what people do not understand. You need people with you, but you need not anyone. You need the right people with you, and that's what this is all about. Because everyone can't help carry what you carry, and this is why linking with people who are not with you, who are not pro you, who are not pro what you have going, is going to be a hindrance. That's going to be that thorns and that thistles. Always a thorn in your side that's pricking you all of the time. This is why they cannot go. Exactly. Blessings come through God's structure, not chaos. This is spiritual lessons. This shows the spiritual principles of what they're going through when God appoints. So now spiritual lessons: to receive your inheritance, you need structure, leadership, and agreement. This is what this is about. Each tribe receives their portion. It is equal, and God is fair. Every tribe got a unique territory, a portion sized by population, and a place that matched their needs. Spiritual truth: God does not overlook you. What is yours is truly yours. You don't lose your blessing because of someone else's blessing. And this is what we need to think about, because most people think, oh, we want that, but you don't know what comes with that. So leave those people who are doing what they're doing over there to do what they do. You worry about what God called you to do. What your purpose, what your plan, what your assignment is. That's all you need to do. Everyone else is going to do what they need to do. Remember, all of our body and organs, the plant life, everything works intricately the way it's supposed to. You don't have to tell it. Your heart beats automatically. Okay? You don't have to tell it to do what it's already designed to do. Don't let that go over your head. Boundaries protect what God gives you. Land without borders can be easily taken, and that's also spiritually. You must guard your heart. You must protect your peace. You must set boundaries even in relationships. You must maintain spiritual discipline. This is in every aspect of your life. And I had to learn this. Why? Because after a while, you see when you're bleeding out and you're hemorrhaging. I talked about the hemorrhaging part. The woman, at the well, the woman that was bleeding, she was hemorrhaging. Her whole life she was bleeding out. Nothing was staying. Nothing was being poured in. And this is why she was slowly dying. Why? Over all of those years. Why? Because there was nothing to be retained. And I was talking about how certain, even sicknesses can show what is going on in your life, just around you, in the spiritual realm, in the mental realm, in the physical, in the financial, every realm. You can see how it's going. Why? Because it's going to show you. It's going to tell you what's going on. Special lesson: if you don't defend your spiritual territory, the enemy will invade it. So it's certain things that your marriage, your children, your money, your mental, certain things you have to guard. You have to guard. And God specifically tells us this. Why? Because providing and protecting is what we're supposed to be doing. This is what we're supposed to do. Why? That's going to help you maintain. Then you have to regulate it. You're going to have rules and regs. This is running households. This is running businesses. This is running families, marriages, whatever it is, relationships, friends, whoever, whatever it is, you're going to see these same things in every aspect of life. Pay attention. Spiritual lesson: you don't defend your spiritual territory, the enemy will invade it. Please pay attention to that. Divine order always precedes divine possession. Before Israel fought any battles, God had already gave the plan, set the borders, and appointed the leaders. God establishes order first, then a blessing. Why? Because you cannot have blessings out of chaos. You cannot. Order in everything. Spiritual truth: God brings order before increase. Yes. Chaos cannot receive the promise, and this is why it is a process, and you cannot skip any of the steps. You cannot rush ahead, think you're going to go ahead and snatch something from someone else, because if you do, you're going to find that it's not going to work for you anyway. It's not for you. It's for that person, and it's for that reason, because God has already processed them. He knows their heart. He knows what they're capable of. He knows them. So this is why he appointed that for them. Now, it doesn't discredit anyone else. You have your own. Get with God and figure out what he has for you so you can get that for yourself. You don't have to worry about nobody else. You have your own. You don't have to be jealous, envious, or wanting. But see, people tend to want that. And a lot of times, because it's certain people, they don't want them to have it because it's just them. And they feel like they're better and all this other stuff. And this be the problem. Like they don't deserve it. They shouldn't have. If God said it's for them, then it's for them. It's not for you. And no one can change it. Even when it came to the blessings and the curses. If you remember, when it was time to raise up the kings and they went to look for David, David was the youngest. He wasn't even thought. Even his parent, his father, didn't even pay him no mind. David was the only one out in the yard, out sheep herding, and the rest of the brothers was called in. They didn't even think of David. He was the youngest. They didn't even think about David. When Samuel went to anoint and he was looking, and every last one of them, God said, no, 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 no. He asked him, do you have another son? He said, yes, he's just David. He said, but don't you see how his father had already discounted him out? You see how people would your own people closest to you would discount you for anything good. But oh, honey, when it comes to that negative, they don't let you leave that. So it's like, so when they went and got David, he anointed David's head, and they like, how was it him? Why? Even with Joseph and Esau. But God appoints who he will. And you can't change it. Even with Joseph's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, he chose Ephraim over Manasseh. Manasseh's though, but in their culture, the oldest, but it was something about them that God said no. Do you see that? And when you look at Reuben and look at Joseph, and you see how Reuben disrespected the father, and how Joseph, no matter what they did to him, sold him into slavery, mistreated him, did all of these things, tried to kill him, and he still loved them enough to help them even in the end, because if not, they would have died. Joseph could have handled that situation totally differently. And if it was Reuben or one of the others, they would have. This is why it wasn't them. This is why God chose who he chose, because he chose right. He knew who was going to be who and what was going to be what. He knew the heart of Joseph. And this is why Joseph was the one chosen. Don't let that fall over your head. Physical land equals spiritual promise. Canaan physically was land, but spiritually it represents what? A life of spiritual maturity. Living under God's rule, not man's, not the world. Walking in purpose. Experiencing rest and claiming God's promises. So remember, a life of spiritual maturity, because you cannot be a child handling these grown folks things. Living under God's rule, meaning submitted, willing to learn, willing to submit, willing to obey, willing to listen to what God says and do it. Walking in purpose, exactly. Your purpose and your assignment, doing what God put you here to do. Experiencing rest, because with that comes rest. It comes provision. It comes protection. Don't you get it? Claiming God's promises is a beautiful thing. But the spiritual lesson was Canaan equaled the place where God's promises became our reality. So living in a life where you're following your God, you're healed, you're whole, you're delivered, you're restored, you're progressing, you're doing. This is what this is all about. Good morning. This is what it's all about. So, this broke down a lot, and this is before they even get into the promised land. But it shows a wonderful, beautiful journey of how God has led them all the way, and he's still with them no matter what happened. He didn't leave them. He didn't forsake them. No matter how many times they fell, they were disobedient. They did this, they did that. You see, 40 years and he still waited on them. And I just think about when my life abruptly changed when I turned 40. And I'm like, oh, you just disrupt. You threw monkey wrenches. You just tore my life completely up. Just toe it up. And I don't know if it was him or me, and I'm like, well, dag. But it was for the good, because everything that was going on, you know, I honestly didn't see it. And if he hadn't showed it to me, I would still be in bondage. I would be enslaved, chained, yoked, shackled, and bound. Everyone else would have been happy getting whatever they was getting, but I would have been miserable. And in the end, they would have tossed me to the side and threw me away like nothing, like they did, and I would be with nothing. So before it got even, you know, God said, no. I see what you don't see. In your kids, and your marriage, and your job, and your career, and your house, and all. You're pouring all this out. You're hemorrhaging out, girl. You're hemorrhaging. Nobody's pouring back. They don't care. And all of the ones you're doing it for is the ones you love and think love. And I'm going to have to show you who and what they really are. Now, forgiveness, you're supposed to forgive and love and move on anyway. But when you rebuild, when I rebuild you, because I'm going to take this and I'm going to do something with it so other people can see it and be healed and delivered and restored from it, so that they can understand these things, so that they don't make the same mistakes as well. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm going to tell you, marriage and kids and blended families and all this other stuff and baby daddy, honey, when you do it the wrong way and then God has to tear it down and for you to do it the right way, oh baby, I'm going to tell you. Because that marriage, all that stuff, I had already had children. All of those things was all of the decisions and all of the patterns and all of the curses that I was up under and didn't know how to love and all of that. And God showing me now how to love. Why? Because molestation, all these things, abuse and this and that, all these things was involved in all of that. And having to love people, okay, from a place of hurt, because hurt people, that's all they know. We usually do what we see and what we're around. Or we do the opposite of it and still end up doing, because it still traits in us, certain things. And it doesn't matter. You can trace it back to your parents, you can trace it back to your genealogy. Whatever it is, you're still going to have, some of what they have in them in you. Even with your own children, you could look at your children and see which ones are like you in certain areas, whether they're good or bad. Which one got an attitude like you, a mouth like you, work habits or whatever. So when we look at that, we already understand what it is. But anyway, I'm going to let this one go. We are bruised and not broken. I hope that this was a blessing to you and your family, and I hope you will sit down and look at it and really pay attention to what God is doing in this and see the blessing of it all. We're bruised, not broken. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I hope it was a blessing. I do have in my thing, if you want to donate to this channel, you can. It would be a blessing to me and my family. If not, I understand. It's cool. God will provide, as he always does for me. And I love you guys, and be blessed. And until the next word, bruised and not broken. Love you later. Be blessed.